Only mode.
So good afternoon. This is Frida Curry. And first of all, I want to welcome you to our webinar. I see there are 4 of you who are participating. It's interesting. We had 42 who signed up, so we'll see if we get more coming on. But if we don't, we're happy that you're with us here. So I am Frida Curry. I am the director of the Illinois Procurement Technical Assistance Center here at the Women's Business Development Center. For this presentation, I'm also going to be joined by Kristen Travis, who is the PTAC Associate, Procurement Technical Assistance Center Associate here at the Women's Business Development Center. And since you are here on time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, I've done the introductions. Here we are. We've met some of you, and some of you we haven't. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover a whole lot in this 1 hour. So I'm going to move along at a nice clipped pace. We try to leave time at the end for questions, and also throughout the webinar, if you have questions, you can type them in, and then we will try to answer them as we are going through the presentation. And we will, once you complete, at the end of the presentation, and we will send a survey, and once the survey is completed, at the end of it, there will be a link to the presentation, so you will be able to get the handouts. So without any further delay, I'm going to get started here. So what we're going to cover is just the strategy of government contracting, provide some information on what they buy, just an overview of what they buy. The easy answer is they buy everything. Getting ready, looking at the past, present, and the future, just a quick conversation around that. Talk about your capabilities assessment. We would do an overview about certifications. We're going to spend a little time on searching for and finding opportunities. Kristen is going to take us online and share with you 2 of the research sites where you can go find information about opportunities that are upcoming, so that you can help to understand how to do that, which can help you with your government strategy. Next steps. And when you get the handout, we're going to have a bunch of resources and links that are a part of the presentation, so that you don't have to look around for them. We're providing those to you. So we talk about the strategy. And let me just say one more thing for those of you that may be new to us. The Procurement Technical Assistance Center, what we do is we work with businesses that are interested in government contracting. And we cover all of the agencies, whether we're talking federal contracting, city, county, federal, or state. We cover all of those. But what we do is we try to help you to come up with a strategy so that you're not trying to cover all of those, because it can be overwhelming and you spread thin, and it can cause you to be unfocused. So one of the things that's really important is to really have a strategy that you're looking at following. The reason why I emphasize this is because many times I will have people come in and say, my sales are down a little bit, or my sales are good and I want to expand my sales, whatever the case may be, and I want to do business with the government. And that's kind of it. I heard the government has a lot of money to spend. I heard the federal government pays on time. I want to do business with the government. And I always say, hold on a minute. Let's just see, or my questions would be, before we move forward, how does that fit in with your overall strategy for your company? How does that figure in with your growth plans? How does that figure in with the way you're doing business now, or the way you're trying to do business? Because you want to make sure that government contracting is something that makes sense for you, number one. And then number 2, you want to figure out how are you intending to compete in this space? How do you want to start? What kind of role do you want to have when you're talking about going after government contracting? So you want to identify who your target is. And your target could be a couple of different. It doesn't have to be only one of these 3. But, you want to figure out, as I'm going in, as you begin to get more information about your industry, how your industry sort of functions in the government space, that can help you to determine whether or not you want to be a prime contractor, which means that you are going to have your contracts are going to be directly from the agency. The agency is going to be the one that writes your check. Or maybe you want to go in and compete as a subcontractor. You may discover that you happen to be in an industry like IT or construction, where in a lot of cases, the primes kind of got it locked up, or they seem to have it locked up. But the primes have to meet the diversity spending goals, just like the agencies are required to meet those diversity spending goals. So you may determine that it makes sense to compete as a subcontractor, and you are marketing to the prime, so they become your target audience in getting on these government contracts. And also you may decide that it's really important, you've decided from a strategic point of view that you have discovered that you don't have the capacity in a lot of situations to do this by yourself. So you want to identify teams or companies that you want to look at partnering with as a team member. So, you go back and you're going to do some assessment. How do you figure this out? And I don't think we have a slide on this, but one of the things that's really good, and we can actually help pull a report for you if you want, we can help you to begin to figure out, well, who is buying what I sell, or who are some of the primes in my area. So Kristen and I can pull some reports. Also, you can pull some yourself that can help give you an overview of who's buying what you're selling, how much spending is going on, which agency is buying the most, so that you can begin to develop a strategy of who you need to target. And one of the sites, and I think I have it in the resource so that when you get it, you know what it is. It's the Federal Procurement Data System, which is FPDS. And that is a research site, and it reports all of the spending from all of the agencies. And you can pull information as recent as 2012 and then back any number of years so that you can see what are the trends, what's been happening, how has it changed, and who buys what I sell. Whoever you decide that your target audience is, you want to know the decision makers. You want to understand who you need to be talking to. So for the federal government, for example, each agency has small business representatives. They have a cute name for it called OSDBU. Any of you that have already planned in the federal space, you may have heard of OSDBU, which is stands for the Office of Small Business Development and Utilization. And those are the small business representatives, and their whole role in life, in their professional life anyway, is to help small businesses to be in a better position to be able to do business with their agency. And all federal agencies have small business specialists. Many are located here in Chicago, or they may be located in the Midwestern region, but DC, I think, has small business specialists across all of the agencies. You also want to get to know the contracting and acquisition staff. Sometimes it may be a little challenging to do. Sometimes it may be hard, but if you get a chance. So it's nice to know the small business specialists. But if you happen to be going for an agency where it's easier to get access to some of the buyers, that's good to know too. So you don't want to necessarily bypass the small business representatives, but it's good if you get to know the buyers. And if you're competing on the corporate side, we're talking about federal, but if you're competing on the corporate side, the small business specialists are comparable to supply diversity managers, and then the contract and the acquisition staff would be comparable to the procurement people or the buyers in those corporations. The program and technical managers, they're the ones who actually may be using what you are selling. So if you're selling IT services, you're going to meet the small business representative. You have the contracting officer who may sign the contract, but the IT people, they're the ones who really understand your language, who understand what's going on. So, and also the end users. So even say the small business representatives don't buy anything, the program managers don't sign anything. In the federal, only the contracting officers do. But knowing those people at the different levels is really important because they all have a role to play. And then you also may be in a situation where end users, so of course if you're buying retail or something, the end user you always want to know. So you want to know who's making the decision to say, I want to spend money on on this thing that you happen to be selling. How do you meet them? You need to get out and network. I mean, I know network sounds like an overused word, but you need to get out and network. You need to go out and meet people. They need to have your face. When you send them something in email, it's nice if they've met you before. Or you may never meet them. They only see your information that you're sending by email, but you're developing that relationship. So when you go to conferences, like the WBDC has one every September, and we have government and corporate representatives that are at our conference every year. There are vendor outreach events. Locally, you may have noticed, for example, there are procurement events, like the City of Chicago has a procurement event going on June 23rd, where you have a chance, 24th, I think, this year, where you have a chance to meet the buyers. I'm going to pause a minute because Chris is trying to say something to me. Okay, I'm not sure if you weren't seeing something.
They may have been seeing the screen.
Okay, so hopefully now you can see my screen. Someone asked if the slide will be available after this meeting. Yes, it will be. It's at the end of the survey, which we will send out once you click the end, once you're finished and click I'm done, then the survey will be sent to you. Someone says they don't see the slide presentation. I didn't realize it wasn't showing, but I think you should see it. You can see it now. So you want to meet the decision makers. You want to get out there. You want to network. You want to have your tools with you, which capability statements, for example, when you're talking to the government, is a nice one-page tool to have along with your business card that has a lot of good, meaningful information on it. You know, there are matchmaking events. You may have begun to hear more and more about matchmaking events. At the WVDC, we do one every September for women who are certified through our organization, but you may also find other organizations that do matchmaking events where you get a chance to sit down for 15 minutes in front of a key person. It could be the small business specialist, it could be the buyer, it could be anybody that's really important. And then capability briefings. When you're talking about the federal government, one of the things that's really good about the federal government, and none of the other government agencies have it as part of their format, as part of the law, as part of the regulations for small businesses. But you actually can make a presentation on your business in front of the agency that you're trying to meet. Many times it will be in front of that small business specialist with whom you want to develop a great relationship. When you're having a capability briefing or that presentation, your dog and pony show, depending upon how the small business specialist feels about your level of competence, they may have a buyer or the technical person in the room as part of your presentation. Capability briefings are great. You want to make sure you're prepared before you go. That's something we or another PTAC can help you with to make sure when you go in there that you're ready and you're doing a bang-up job. But that's one of the things about the federal government is that you do have a chance to actually do your presentation in front of someone. I'm just having trouble finding this arrow. How about that arrow? That's not hard to find. It didn't move. That one didn't move. I'm talking to myself, but okay. You want to build, so we're still talking about the strategy. We're going to get to some more stuff, so we're still talking about the strategy. Building relationships. You hear it all the time. Build relationships, build relationships, build relationships. They are essential. People buy from folks that they know. And the relationship, it's not like all are going to be best buddies and go out, but the relationship, like I said, it could be an online relationship. It could be phone conversation relationship. It could be where you're just sending information to them. But you want to follow up. You want to make sure that they're current with what you're doing. You want to go to the events that they give. If there's an opportunity for you to be in front of the people, the decision makers, or the assistants to the decision makers, you want to make sure that you're there. You're always going to be professional. And I say this and you may think, well, duh, I'm a business, of course I'm going to be professional. But for example, one of the things we see a lot of is that people that are in construction may come to a professional meeting and they got on their construction clothes. You know, that's not the place where you come in with the jeans and your hard boots and your hat in your hand, your hard hat in your hand. If you go into a professional meeting, whether you are construction or anything else that doesn't normally wear a suit, you come in looking like that. If you're an artist and you like to wear your funky artist clothes, when you're coming into those presentations or those meetings, you want to come in and look like a business person. You want to identify opportunities. That's something that we here at our PTAC Center and other PTAC centers can help you to do, is to identify opportunities. It's also something that you can do on your own. Kristen will talk a little bit about that, how you can see and do some research to see, well, what are the opportunities that are coming up? There are things out there, especially with the city and the federal, where you can see what are some of the upcoming contracts, so that can help you with your strategy, that can help you with your game plan, that can help you figure out where you need to focus your attention. And you want to mitigate risk, and there are lots of ways, of course, you can have risk. It could be entering a teaming arrangement, for example, and you haven't really vetted the person thoroughly, and it turns out that it turns out not to be a good decision for all involved. So you want to look at ways that you can mitigate risk. Where are risks typically going to be in your industry, in your business, in your size, or in the people that you're looking to partner with, and you know, you want to mitigate that. You're looking at being successful. So there are many tools that are critical when you're out here trying to market yourself to these agencies. And your history, your reputation that you have, your business card. One of the things with that business card, that is a walk-in brochure for you, that one little card. and you want to make sure that you maximize that space that's in that card. You want to have your company name. You want to have your DUNS number. You want to have your NAICS codes. And for any of you who are new to federal government, the NAICS is your industry code that most people in the federal government, when they're talking about procurement, they talk NAICS, and it identifies your industry. Some of them are really refined, some of them are broad, but whatever your primary industry codes are, you want to make sure those are on the card. There's a site where you can go to figure out what your NAICS codes are. I think it's in the links that we sent on our resource page. If it's not, Kristen and I can help you do that. So when you talk about the critical tools, so one of them that's a really good tool that has become more and more popular, and even a lot of our clients that are marketing their businesses to corporations are beginning to use them. It's a one-page capability statement, just a one-page statement. And so people say, well, I can't get all my good stuff in one page, but you really can. So what you want to do is in this one page, you're going to identify your core competencies. So what is it that your company stands for? Your past performance becomes really important. If you're in federal or city or any other government, they like to see that you've had government experience. That's on your capability statement. But if you haven't had government experience, but you've had some corporate experience, it's good to put that on there. If you don't have either, but your professional life before you went into entrepreneurship and running this business, if you were in an industry, so like if you were an accountant at a firm and then you decided to open up your CPA firm and you're marketing that firm to one of the government agencies, so even though you may not have past performance as a business, you can try to highlight the past performance that you have as an individual. If you don't have any past performance, you might want to get some before you focus all or a lot of your attention on government contracting. Because the big thing that they want to make sure is that you have the capacity to be able to deliver. Now sometimes sole proprietors may be able to, they may not be as hard to navigate that space because because it's just you, it's a solo organization, and it's really and then you are your capabilities. But if you're talking about a company and you want to go in and work on projects and you don't have past performance, so the chances are great. It's not impossible, but it's great that a contracting officer may be a little skeptical, especially when there may be other people out there that can do what you can do. What differentiates you from others? You want to think about what differentiates you, what makes you unique, what makes you different. If you happen to be in an industry that's like a commodity, and there are lots of you out there, you still have to think about what tools do you use, or what methodologies do you have, or what have you created, or regionally, are you located in like if it's an agency that has an opportunity to do an events project and it's going to be in Chicago, but you've got a hot competitor who happens to be in California. Well, maybe in this case, if you are neck to neck on everything else, what could differentiate you is your location and your geography. So sometimes you have to dig to think about that, and we actually have an article that we can send you about writing strong capability statements, as well as some samples. If you want to send us an email, we'll send them out. We can help you to, in terms of, this top one, this is really all the things that go in your capability statement. That's, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most dynamic documents that you can have along with your business card. Then your opportunity locator, like I said, Kristen's going to show you that a little bit later in the presentation. You want to be able to identify the decision makers. Again, one of the good things about competing in the government space, unlike corporate and private, is that most of that information is available because these government agencies are serving us, so that information is available to us. You can usually go online and Google, and you can come up with who are the decision makers and who are the people that buy or whatever it is you're looking to for the agencies you're trying to go into, as well as that information is on their websites. Contract vehicle. So this, particularly when you're talking federal, but this really gets into how, what kind of vehicle is being used to purchase whatever it is that you sell. And it could be that, it's a bidding, it's an invitation for bid, for example. That's not quite a purchasing vehicle, but that's how is the agency buying what you sell. Is it a proposal process where you have to, write a proposal, submit it, and compete it? Is it a bid where they're looking at the best price in order to make their decision? For the federal government, for those of you that are new, this might just be confusing, but they have a couple of different vehicles. They have what they call multiple award schedules, where, and they also have something called IDIQ, which is indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. So you may get a contract. Say you get a contract with, I don't know, the Veterans Administration, and it happens to be an IDIQ. You may win the contract and say they say the value is up to $5 million, but they really only actually have you do any projects when they have a need for it. But the contract's awarded, so it's almost like you're pre-qualified. They don't call it that because they do call it a contract vehicle. But you want to understand, or do you need to be on something called the GSA schedule with the federal government? Or do you need to be 8A certified because the projects for this particular agency are typically bought or set aside for 8A companies? So you just need to understand, and then you want to have a good management system because you will end up finding that you're accumulating a lot of information and you want to be able to keep up with that information. What time is it, Chris? I want to make sure that I'm at 2:21. Okay, I'm going to have to go a little faster. There we go. So this is the capability statement. I talked about that. We don't need to spend any more time on it except that you want to make it one page. It's a small file, so you don't want to do something that takes a long time for people to upload. And you also want to make this a living document because you may discover that you need to modify your capability statement based on what agencies you're going to or maybe what departments within an agency. Most of us, as small businesses, we may have more than one thing that we can do. And so you want to tap into what is the mission, what is the need that the certain agency has that you're going after. And then you can tailor your capability statement to make sure that it reflects that you can provide solutions to what they're looking for. So how much do the government agencies spend? Well, a lot of money. Federal government, we're over $500 billion. Interestingly, 70% of that it was spent by the Department of Defense. So that's a biggie if you have to happen to have a product that's targeted to the various defense agencies, which include, of course, the military, like, you know, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, but they also have other, the Defense Logistic Agency, there are other agencies underneath the Defense Department. So they are a big, but that other 30% goes pretty far too. So the federal government, big spenders. One of the things is that, one of the things that's important, and we'll talk about their goals in a minute, but they've got big spending, but 23% of that, whatever that number is, 23% of the $500 billion is really, their goal is to make sure that small businesses get that spending. So what's that, Chris? What's 23% of 500? Are you going to have a calculator on that?
Give me a few minutes.
No. I got one right here. Just wanted to give you a number. So $124 billion is set aside, is targeted for small business spending. So that's pretty good. I'm going to take a moment here and read a couple of questions. Oh. Kristen's going to look at the questions while I keep talking.
Okay.
Just look and see what, and then tell me which.
This one, I think she needs.
Somebody asked what type of management system. For me, I think everybody has their different ways that they organize and manage the information. I don't have one that I recommend. You know, it depends on really what you're doing. You may look at just setting up Excel sheets to help you keep track of things, or you may use some of the off-the-shelf management systems. I mean, I think that is just however you know, I'm a big binder person. Some people don't ever use binders. And so it's really what methods do you use to make it easy for you to go back and get information when you need to get that information. Can you all hear me? Because I have a little pink sign that's popped up saying that we may be experiencing network connection. How do we know when governments are looking for vendors? I think when Kristen takes you through the opportunity, well, one of the sites that she's going to show you. Well, two things. I mentioned that there's the research that you can do with the FPDS, which is going to be one of the links in your resources, Federal Procurement Data System. So you can look there just to get a sense of the history. And the history, many times the federal government doesn't do a whole lot of changing. The history can help you figure out aha, this is still trending, this is still important, I know my industry, so the fact that they spent this in the past means they're probably going to spend it again. That's one. Number two, she's going to show you a site which is called FBO, Federal Business Opportunities, FBO.gov. That's where all federal agencies are required to publicly post any contract opportunities they have for contracts that are over $25,000, that are going to be valued at $25,000. And so once you go on FBO.gov, you can hang out there and play around. And it's good because you can find out two things. One, what contract opportunities are out right now. And you can also look at what contract opportunities are forecasted. So that's that way you can say, oh, okay, I'm beginning to figure out how I can begin to determine whether or not they buy what I sell, how much they spend, and if this is a good place for me, you know, who I need to partner with, who are some of the leaders, because you can also find out information about the primary contracts. You can find out information about when, because sometimes an agency may have a contract that's a 5-year contract, where you can actually find out information about when those contracts are going to end. I think on the city site too, right? Mm-hmm. So once again, there's a ton of research out there, but that's why it becomes really important to do some of this research at first to help you narrow down where you want to focus your attention, so then you can really dig in instead of trying to do all of it. So Kristen told me I have 5 minutes left before we're going to turn it over to her to demonstrate some of the sites. So when you look at locally, State of Illinois, $10 billion on commodities and service, Cook County, $200 million, City of Chicago, over $2 billion. And so these are, just to let you know, a lot of money is spent in government contracting. That's sort of the bottom line there. And the good thing for you as a small business is all of the agencies have diversity spending goals, and all of them have laws and regulations that are guiding those diversity spending goals. So the agencies are required to do their very best to meet those goals. So for example, with the federal government, they weren't meeting them in a whole lot of ways. So now they have score sheets, and the contracting officers are being held even more so to meeting those goals. So for federal contracts that are over $650,000, $1.5 million, I have 1.3, but it's $1.5 million for construction, here are the federal spending goals. Now you may be thinking, well, shoot, what about contracts that are under $650,000? The reality is, because a lot of the federal agencies were having a hard time meeting their goals, many times they may even set aside projects just so that small businesses can compete, even if the value of them is under $650. But by law, when it's over $650, they have to have those goals. But all of them are required to meet the goals across the board. And so, you know, we're finding that many are committed. Some do a better job than others. And then locally, they have aspirational goals. Now, I put that aspirational in italics because they used to state them as spending goals. But what's happening is that many times there may be areas where it's just not enough small businesses who can provide those kinds of services. And so what was happening is that some of the agencies and the primes were being dinged because they weren't meeting those goals. But if there really weren't enough small businesses or women-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses, then it was unfair. So now what they do is I have aspirational goals, and so it could be you may have a situation where the goals are actually higher if they know that there are a lot of small businesses available or women-owned businesses. A contract opportunity may actually have higher goals because they know that they're more minority or women-owned or veteran-owned available. And they may be on another contract, they may have smaller goals because they know it's really hard to find them. So they call them aspirational, but they're all working around these numbers. So I think what I'm going to do, since it's 2:30, a lot of the information that I have, because I've got 33 slides, and I think we're not even close to 33. But before I turn it over to Kristen, I do want to have a quick conversation about certification. Now, certification is one of those things that can be confusing, but it can be all to some folks. But certification is really valuable. If you're a small business, a woman-owned business, a minority-owned business, a veteran-owned business, a disabled-owned business, and there are certification guidelines that apply to you, you want to think about getting those certifications. But it always goes back to your strategy. It always goes back to which agencies or type of contracts you decided to go after, and then it'll go look at, and then what kinds of certifications are, how are certifications used within that agencies or for the kind of thing that you're going after. But for the most part, for corporate as well as government across the board, certification comes into play. And it's really just all about you get certified because large companies have an advantage. I don't care how good you are. In the end, large companies still have an advantage over you. They're bigger, they're stronger, they got more money, they have more resources, they have more people, they have more time. I mean, you know, they have more. And so being certified, they have more, and those primes are required to meet the diversity spending goals. So being certified gives them motivation to work with you. Now, people have gotten contracts without being certified, but I've also worked with some clients who were working with primes quite a while. They had a great relationship, a number of years they've been working with them, but then all of a sudden the primes were being required by their, by their agency, or maybe the primes fell down in some of their goals, and then they're asking these people that they've worked with for years without certification to get certified. So we do a whole workshop just on certification, but the typical ones are women-owned, or in this case, female business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise, HubZone, which is based on locating your business in a historically underutilized business. So that's really designed to attract business people, job creation in areas. You have minority business enterprises, and so that's when you're certified as a minority, an ethnic minority, which is usually African American, Hispanic, Asian American, Native American. They tend to be categorized with the minority, broadly speaking. You have service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses, which is a federal certification. You have small disadvantaged business, which is federal. Women business enterprise, which is sort of across the board, federal and private. Women-owned small business, and 8A. So like I said, that's just sort of giving you an overview, but there's a lot of, there's a lot of conversation that can go along the whole certification conversation. And this is just a quick chart that will be in your handout. It says, who, what's the, like FBE, that's the State of Illinois designation. There's no charge to get certified. Anything was federal certification, no charge. State doesn't charge for theirs. City and Cook County charge for theirs. And then we have two that you may not recognize, which are CMSDC and WBENC. Those are certifications that you get if your target audience is corporations. So corporations don't look at city certifications or Cook County certifications. They look to see if a woman is, if a business is minority certified or certified as a woman-owned by going through these two certifying agencies. So CMSDC is Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, and WBENC is Women Business Enterprise National Council. And here at the Women's Business Development Center, we are the certifying agency for WBENC in a 9-state region in the Midwest. And so if you decide, government's cool, but I also want to get certified as a woman-owned business to do business with major corporations, you would come to us. You would actually go look on our website and to get that information. So let me see what my other slides are, and then maybe take a couple questions. So you want to certify, just I mentioned, is that, because the federal agencies have laws and the government agencies are required to have diversity spending goals and their prime contractors are required to have diversity spending goals, you want to have that in place so that you don't miss out on opportunities, because it ends up being about the count. Everybody, I gave you those percentages where the primes want to make sure they're meeting the percentages. The agencies want to make sure they're meeting the percentages. Corporations may have their own percentages, but they can really only count you if you are certified. And so many times you want to make sure you have that in your back pocket. It's just one of your tools. Also, though, you may want to get certified. You want to get certified because many times contract opportunities are set aside for certain groups. So for the federal government, they'll have many contract opportunities that are set aside for small businesses, or they may have some that are set aside for women-owned businesses, or they may have some that are set aside for veterans. So you want to be able to compete if you see an opportunity that's set aside that you have the ability to deliver. So Chris is over here getting antsy in her seat because she doesn't want to run out of time before she gets to share the sites with you, and you probably don't want her to. So I'm just going to, when you talk about federal, these are the federal certifications. So they have, when I say formal, you actually have to go through, you have to jump through hoops, fill out an application. You may have to, resubmit it. So you have to jump through hoops for these two, but they're great certifications. 8A is what's called a SOLE, both of them. SOLE, S-O-L-E as in one. You have the opportunity to get contracts without having to compete with anybody else. And self-certification through the SBA. So these are new in 2010, the Women-Owned Small Business and the Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business. You self-certify, which means you check the box, but you also have to upload documents. Like I said, I don't think we have a workshop coming up soon, but you can actually you can set up a session with me or Kristen if you have more questions. And then self-certifications for the federal government through something called SAM, which is their database. And you actually check the box that you're small. You check the box that you're disadvantaged. You don't have to have any documentation. And then there's VA, which I have down here under self-certification. But with the veterans, I probably need to move that because you actually they have a whole verification process that you have to go through. And they don't call it certification, but it's like certification to get verified as a veteran small business. And then with the state of Illinois, when you get your slides, you will see the different certifications that our local agencies have. So state has these. And then one thing about the state, they have a small business set-aside program. And for the SBSP, it is not gender or ethnic driven. It's based on size. And so sometimes the state of Illinois will have projects that are set aside for small businesses. And I think it's under $50,000, but projects that are set aside for small businesses. So I am going to, and then when you get your thing, you'll see the cities and you'll see the counties. And one thing I do want to say, somebody will come in and say, oh, I got my WBE certification, or they'll just come and say, well, I want to get certified as a woman-owned business. Then my next question is, with which agency? Or with who, and for what purpose? Because, unfortunately, because it gives everybody headaches, because you have a WBE certification, say with the city of Chicago, that doesn't mean that that certification is good with the state of Illinois. Now, one good thing that's new is the Cook County and the state of Chicago are now accepting each other's certifications. So now if you're certified with Cook County, and there's a project opportunity that comes up with the city of Chicago, and they're looking for a certified woman-owned or minority-owned company, and you happen to have it with Cook County but not with the city of Chicago, city will accept your Cook County and the other way around. So that was good news. They've been working on that for a while, and they finally made it happen. And that's the set-aside program with the state of Illinois, which will be in your handout. It's a business decision. You don't want to get confused and think because you're certified, because I do have people come in and say, I'm certified, but nothing's happened. I haven't gotten any contracts, and I've been certified now for a year. That's just a tool in your toolbox. You still got to go out and market, and all those things I talk about, market, introduce, develop relationships, go to the events. When you get your slides, you would want to ask yourself some questions. Are you ready to do business with the government? Do you have the size? Are you competitive? Do you have the kind of quality? Are you organized and efficient? Do you have the technology that might be required? Is your pricing competitive? Because you want to be able to make sure you're ready. We have the federal government and all of them. What you want to do is, if you, and this is corporation too, if you decide that you want to do business with a certain type of government agency, you want to register with that agency, and all of them have their own process of how you register. The city has theirs, county has theirs, state has theirs, federal has theirs. And like if you're doing city and you want to do some of the sister agencies like CTA and CHA, they all have theirs. And so as you get your strategy together and you figure out who and where you want to compete, you want to register on their sites. And it's the same with corporations. Once you target the corporations where you want to focus, you want to register on their sites. Now I am going to turn the presentation over to Kristen. She's going to do a couple of quick demonstrations. We have about 20 minutes left, but before she starts, we're going to take a quick look at the questions to see if there's anything pressing, because Kristen's probably going to take us almost right to the end. So what is it? Currently, I do not have a business. How do I know the specific products and services are currently in demand? So you are looking at trying to create a business around the demand. If that's what you're thinking, I mean, that's on you, but what you can do is you can go to the public site that we talked about, and you can just see who's spent. I mean, there's nothing that says, you know, maybe you can do some research to see what some of the economic trends are for the economy, or do some research around maybe Google, what is the government spending their money on today, or where's the government going to spend their money? I mean, part of it is you can do some research to see where the spending is, but I don't recommend it. I mean, I think that your business needs to come out of your capabilities, your experience, your interests, and not try to wrap it around what's being spent, because all the government agencies buy some of everything. So it would be hard to let that be your driver. So the fact you mentioned that you have 30 years of experience in medical supply chain, so then I would look for within healthcare, or, you know, how does this whole the Healthcare Act affect what you're doing, or is there a niche someplace there that you can look at creating it? And so maybe when you start searching for opportunities, you're going to go to that site that we're going to give you to see what your NAICS codes are, and you can search to see, well, what's happening in my industry code based on the healthcare in your area of expertise, to help you begin to think about where you want to go. If you are here in Chicago and you want to have some assistance from me or Kristen, or from the PTAC, because there are 3 of us, 2 and a quarter of us, one comes once a week. If you want to, we can help you to sort of think it through, but we can't help you decide what it ought to be. We can just sort of help you to look at where you need to look to help you make a decision. Does one certification work for all levels of government? Nope. I think I answered that. No, everybody's certification is their own, except for the city and the county, which accept each other's. Otherwise, each certification is different, and if something is saying we want to have somebody who's certified as a woman-owned small business, that's what they're looking for. One good thing, though, with the federal government, if you happen to be 8A certified and you are women-owned certified and you're a small business, an agency, if they're interested in you and what you have to offer, and they feel like you're qualified, well, they will consider you a trifecta, because they get to count all of your certifications that you bring to the table at once. City and a state, I think, are different. You can only get credit for one certification on a project. All right, so Kristen's going to take over. And if you didn't get your question answered, you can feel free to send me an email at the end of it, because I do want you all to have a chance to get a demonstration about at least one of the websites. She's going to try to go for 2, but at least one of the websites. Okay, Chris?
Hi, everyone. Frida did a great job of explaining how the government contracting, works. And so I'm going to also help as far as letting you know how to take that information and apply it to your government contracting strategy. Now, I saw that many of you asked, how do I know what the government is spending their money on? How do I know that they're spending within my industry? First, you have to know a little bit about yourself and know how to display that to the government. As Frida talked about NAICS codes a little earlier, your North American industry classification codes, knowing those will help you navigate some of these sites that were going on. One of the main sites for the government, the federal government, is FedBizOpps, federalbusinessopportunities.gov. So fbo.gov is where you'll go to get there. And to find opportunities, you want to click on the 4th tab over on the opportunity section of this particular website. What FBO does is it pulls together several of the different government agency procurement posts. So any of your contract opportunities from many different departments, you'll find those here. What you're going to want to do in order to find opportunities, opportunities in general or opportunities within a specific NAICS code or a specific industry, you'll want to go to your advanced search. So we'll click on that. And let's just say my industry, for example, is in food service. We'll take a look at what that would look like for you. So let's say we're in Illinois. We want to see and we want to find out history about the government awards for the last year. Typically, procurements are made on a pretty regular basis. Oftentimes, they're made once a year or something such as that. So you want to take a look at some of the history so you can find out what items, or what products or services the government is going to seek out within the next year, and to see if your industry is something, to find out what agency purchases the items within your industry, the products or services within your industry. So what we're going to do a search in a couple different ways, just to give you some chances to see if you're looking at a more specific search or if you're looking for a more general search. We're looking in the state of Illinois, and right now I'm going to go ahead and click all of the different set-aside codes just so we can see what's out there. And we're going to take a look within the last year just to see what's out there. We're going to click on award notice so we can find out what happened in the past. So right now we'll scroll all the way down to search. Oh, Frida says don't forget the next code. We're going to do that one in a second, because I'm going to take you guys back. We're going to just take a general search just to see what's out there, and then we're going to go specific into a next code just to see how you do that. So if you take a look right here, here's everything that happened over the past year, all of the awards with all of the set-asides from the last year. And you can see that we did that. This just kind of gives you a general understanding of how the government award departments are purchasing what. But we want to do a more specific search to see what your next code, for example, would, what results would come from that. So
you went fast. Can you just read a couple so that you can just highlight a couple of them?
Let's take a look. We'll look at the heating pump right here. So you can see some information about this. This was awarded March the 21st, 2013. You'll, of course, see your contract number up here. Here's the amount that was awarded. We actually have the name of the awarded company. Again, this is very important information to know. You might want to get to know who are the key people in RB Construction. They may be either your competitors, or they might be someone you would like to partner with. You may decide to go for a teaming opportunity. Again, as Frida mentioned, you might want to be their subcontractor. So now you want to market your services or your products to RB Construction. Oftentimes you'll find out lots of information about them within this site. Right here you have their address. They may have even decided to be part of the interested vendors list, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. But here you'll see the synopsis. So this is what this particular agency was looking for in this contract opportunity. These are the things that they asked for. They have the NAICS code that they were looking for. They have the size standard of that NAICS code that they were looking for, and what they expected from you. The government's very specific on what they expect from you. Everything's going to be laid right out and written right out, so you won't have any questions on how to fulfill a contract once you've been awarded. Here's some additional information down here about this particular solicitation. There may have been extra drawings. There may have been blueprints or plans. There may have been amendments. So you'll see all of that information down here. And as soon as there is an amendment, they'll let you know the date that it was posted. That usually comes from questions that people will ask contracting officers during the specific designated time that questions are allowed. This way they can post the questions, the answers to the questions for everyone to see, and then that way this can help you to complete your proposal. Here you'll also see information about the place of performance. So this is where the work is to be done. You'll also find out about the contracting office right here, and this is where your primary point of contact is typically going to be located. So Amanda Ayers right here, this is the person you would want to contact if you need to get additional information As I said before, there's designated times where you can actually ask and have questions answered. So she may decide again if this is something she wants to put into the amendment. But she would be your point of contact. Now we're going to go back and we're going to take a look also at the interested vendors list. You can put yourself on this list. If you're interested in this particular contract opportunity, this of course is not a live one. This is one that's already been awarded. So when you go to the live contract opportunities, you can put yourself on the interested vendors list. But you do kind of want to see who else is out there in your space that you should be connecting with. And these people were interested in this particular opportunity. If you see them showing up on a lot of the opportunities that you're looking into, you may want to reach out to them and, you know, connect with them, find out what events they're going to, things like that. So we're going to go back. We're going to click on Return to Opportunities. Do not click the back button. You won't like what you see. If you do that, it's going to take you to crazy pages. You don't want to click the back button at any time on FedBiz Ops. It's just not going to work out. So here what we're going to do is we will clear our search, and then we're going to search by NAICS codes. Now let's remember, I said before, let's take the example that we are someone in food services and we're working, our place of performance will be Illinois. We want to see what happened in the last year, and we need again to know our NAICS codes, keywords, or the solicitation number. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and put in our NAICS code for food service. For this particular type of food service, it's going to be 424410. If you don't quite know your NAICS code, you can go to the NAICS website, and you can go there to find your NAICS code. But also you can look in here, and the listing of all the NAICS codes is going to be in this section right here. So you can actually go here and look up your NAICS codes. There's quite a few of them, so you can put keywords in this search box, and it can help you to find your NAICS code that way as well. So now we've looked by NAICS code in the last 365 days, and we are going to search. And this is to see who's buying in your NAICS code, what agencies. So this is a simple way to do some research for yourself. Again, Frida and I can actually sit down and create a research document for you based on your NAICS codes. We can sit down and researching on what government agency, again, what government agency buys what you sell is going to let you know what certifications you need to get. It's going to also let you know who you need to contact. It's going to let you know how much money is allocated to those types of contracts. So knowing this kind of information is very crucial to your government contracting strategy. Now let's say we are in the NAICS code for food industry. You see a lot of Department of Justice is pretty much buying up everything for the food industry. We see here one for MCC Chicago. If you guys remember, that's the Metropolitan Correctional Center where the 2 convicts escaped earlier this year. You'll see right here they were looking for food services. Again, you're going to get the information on what specifically they were looking for. The dates, you're going to have date information and when they need that contract, when that contract was awarded. You're going to get all kinds of information about changes that have been made at one point or another. So you can click on those. All of these here are live links, and it can give you more information about this awarded solicitation. Oh, this is helping forecast. Okay. So the information here is used to help you to gain more and more information on how you should pursue certain agencies. When we're coming When we take a look at the city of Chicago, it's very similar, and I'll show you a couple of pieces of information about that in just a moment. But the last thing I wanted to show you,
I think we should move on to Chicago.
Okay, well then we will go ahead and move on to City of Chicago. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Just a moment. And City of Chicago is www.cityofchicago.org. That's their main site. Once we get there, we're going to be at the home page. And the home page is going to look like this, www.cityofchicago.org. Now, in order to get where you need to be, you got to be at the procurement services page. That's going to give you the vast majority of the information that you're going to need for contract opportunities. So let's go to city government and scroll over to procurement services. This is going to give you a lot of information about contracting. So we'll show everything here. Right here is the MWBE form. If you are looking as a subcontractor and you want to find out some information about some of the primes in the area and connect with them, this is a great place to go. It gives you a lot of information about trends within your industry. Right here is some information so you can find out about awarded contracts and do a search similar to what we have just done. And you could do that within the city of Chicago. If you are looking for MBEs, minority business enterprise, or women business enterprise firms, you can click on this. This would be a great place to go so that you can locate some of those firms. You want to go here for the Department of Procurement Services alerts. As Frida mentioned much earlier, you want to put yourself on the alert system of all of the government agency websites that pertain to the kind of products or services that you sell. So you want to make sure that you are alerted about any events, any contract opportunities, or any important information, and these types of alerts can help you to do that. And buying plan. This is probably one of the more important documents on the City of Chicago's website. It helps you to do forecasting. So you can actually take a look at what the City of Chicago is planning on purchasing for the year. This is a wish list. This is not necessarily something that they are guaranteed to buy, but this is what they're planning on buying and when they're planning on buying it. One of the things that you should make sure to know, and I know someone asked the question earlier, how do I know when the government is purchasing what I sell? That's a loaded question in some ways because it depends on the agency once again. The federal government, their fiscal year is over in September 30th, and so October 1st is when they start their fiscal year once again. So their buying plans come out around that time. For the local agencies, a lot of the different agencies, some of them start at the calendar year, some of them start at the fiscal year. So these are things that you want to keep in mind when you're taking a look and trying to figure out when does the government buy what you sell. But again, as I said, you want to know within your NAICS code, you want to know your NAICS code inside and out, because again, using your NAICS code, using the history is going to help you to know when they're going to be purchasing what you sell once again. Right now I'm waiting for our buying plan to populate. It looks like it's taking a minute. It is a large document, but you can view it on the city's website. Again, it's a great document, and it is it's categorized by industry. So you'll be able to find out a lot of information there. For the sake of time, we're going to go back to the presentation. But again, if you have questions on how to use the buying plan and how to use the buying plan and how to make it work best for you, then you want to come in and have a meeting with us, and then we can help to show you you know, how to make those things work for you.
Okay, all right, so we're going to wrap it up. We have a lot to cover, and of course we've run out of time. Our hour is up. I ask you to bear with us for about 3 more minutes over time. But we, as the Women's Business Development Center and as an Illinois PTAC Center, we are available to assist you in any number of ways with your federal contracting, from the strategic point to the helping you to navigate the websites, to helping you to gain a better understanding of the certification. We are also one of 10 agencies. Our PTAC is one of 10 agencies in the state of Illinois. And so if you don't happen to be near the city and you want to go to one, if you happen to be in Page or Lake County or close to Springfield, there are PTAC centers scattered around the state of Illinois. And if we happen to have anybody on the line who's not from Illinois, almost all states have PTACs. And so you would go to aptac-us.org, and you can find out where a PTAC center is located close to you if you happen not to be in, or even if you're in Illinois and you want to find one other than ours in the downtown Chicago. And one of the things we didn't mention is Kristen was talking about registering with the sites so that you could get DPS alerts, for example, at the City of Chicago. So if there's some contract opportunities that are coming out, they will let you know. But the other thing that we do here at the Women's Business Development Center, as well as the other Illinois PTACs, is we have a bid match service, which is a free service. And so once you come in and meet with us, and we'll find out what your keywords are, we can actually set up what's called the bid match profile for you. And what will happen is that you will get automatic notifications about contract opportunities that pop up across all of the agencies. So then that way you're not sitting around waiting for them to come to you. So we can help you set up a profile. We can kind of go through. We have some sample profiles if you happen to have been in an industry where we have some of the sample profiles. But once you register with the PTAC, you definitely want to make sure that you have a bid match profile. In the end, you want to register, focus on opportunities in your niche and prioritize. You want to be competitive. You want to make appointments. You want to get out there. People need to know you. We need to know you. Your elected officials need to know you, and your people that you're targeting need to know you, and you want to know other folks in your industry, so you want to get out there. You want to be persistent, but you also want to be patient, because one of the things about government contracting, it can take a long time to get that first contract. And then one more thing that I didn't mention, for the federal government, for contract opportunities that are under $25,000, they do not have to, the agency does not have to publicly notice, they don't have to promote that publicly. So that means that they don't have to be competitively bid. So that means that if you're working on that relationship thing and a contract opportunity comes up, you've been hanging out with the EPA and you've gotten a chance to know them, you've made a capability briefing, they are aware of the kind of work that you do, you have an opportunity to actually be awarded a contract as a sole source person without having to compete it at all. So that also comes into play as one of your strategies. Some people decide to play in the under $25,000 space just so they can build up a reputation and build up contracts. And even better, if you happen to have a product or service that you sell that's really a low-cost item, the federal government, for projects that are $3,000 or under, if you accept credit cards, you can get paid right away. And they spend a whole bunch of money in those $3,000 and under projects. So some of you may, if you're a painter, you may paint, 5 rooms and it's going to be under $3,000. And if you can get that contract, I mean, that's money that you can get right away. So there are a lot of different strategies you can use. The PTAC team here at the Women's Business Development Center consists of me, Kristen, and then we have another counselor named Joanne, and she has a specialty in federal contracting because she worked on the federal side for 26 years. So I believe that we have run out of time. We do have some workshops coming up in June, some webinars coming up in June, and we're going to do one on writing capability statements. We talked about that a little bit, and that's going to be June 13th. And then the next one is on June 19th, and we're doing one on teaming. Teaming is the way to go for small businesses. We have an attorney named Cheryl Cantor who's coming in to do that workshop, because there are laws that guide some of the teaming, what you can and can't do. but also from a legal point of view in terms of getting into that agreement. She's going to provide information on that, and also financial considerations that need to be taken. So the Women's Business Development Center, for my last commercial before I let you go, we do free business counseling, free, no charge. All of our counselors are experienced business owners, have been currently or were previous business owners, and all of them have different levels of experience in the whole world of entrepreneurship. So we provide good quality counseling at no charge. We have the PTech Center, which is us, where we focus on government contracting. The Small Business Development Center is great for startups as well as for businesses that are working on getting their business plan together. We have a very nice established business services, so if you've been out there for a long time, you've got plenty of history behind you. You're interested in particular, for example, in maybe doing business with the corporations. You happen to be woman-owned and you want to get, and you decide to get certified, we've got a really nice program for you. We also have a microloan program, and I forget, I think it's under 25, but I'm not sure, but if you go on our website, you can find out about that. We have entrepreneurial training courses. We got great courses. We do a lot of workshops and webinars. And we have a Latino business program. So if you are or you know someone else who is in the Latino community, or maybe they don't speak English, they only speak Spanish, we actually deliver our counseling as well as our training in Spanish. And then we have a child care business program. And we actually have our annual child care event that's coming up June 1st. So that's great if you are in the child care business or if you have services or products that you sell to people in the child care business. You may want to find out more about that, and you can go on our website to find out more. So we thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Frida Curran.
This is Kristen Travis.
And we are Women Business Development Center. We are the PTech team, and we invite you to come and see us. And if you do want to see us, here's the phone number, and then it's extension 100, and the receptionist makes all the appointments, and we can just see you whenever you're ready. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great afternoon. Oh, don't forget, Kristen's going to send the survey. Complete the survey. We need you to do that. Once it's done, at the end, when you click it on, you'll be able to have access to this fabulous PowerPoint presentation that we created just for you. Thank you very much.